Good day guys! Welcome back to my channel. This is Sir AJ and for today we will have a new video. So before we start with our new discussion for today, let me just say thank you to all of you who are continuously supporting my channel. Currently, malapit na tayo sa 1,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for all the support. I hope that sa lahat ng mga hindi pa nakaka-subscribe, please subscribe now to my channel and please share this to all your friends and click the notification bell na rin para ma-notify kayo kung meron akong mga bagong videos. So for today, our video will be talking about accounting for intangible assets in accordance with PAS 38. So if you wanna learn something new today that is about accounting for intangible assets, then you should watch this video. So good day again guys. So tulad ng sinabi ko, for today, we will be talking about accounting for intangible assets. So according sa PAS 38, the standard that governs intangible assets are identifiable non-monetary assets without any physical substance. So number one, these assets are identifiable. So paano ba natin malalaman if identifiable ang isang asset? Number one, it is separable. And number two, it arises from legal or other contractual rights. Then non-monetary, just like property, plant, and equipment. Pero the only difference is intangible assets are without any physical substance. Meaning, hindi mo sila nahahawakan or hindi mo sila nakikita. But they exist and they give future economic benefits to the entity. So first, we will be discussing what are some examples of intangible assets. So, pwedeng maging intangible assets ang following. Number one, patents. Ito yung mga, if we have an invention or if we have a original creation, then we apply for patents. Number two is trademarks or brand names. Number three, copyrights for literary works. Franchise. So for example, you acquired the franchise of McDonald's, then that is an intangible asset for you. Leasehold or lease rights, and computer software. Meron pang service rights. The following naman are not considered to be intangible assets. So ito yung mga hindi pwedeng maging intangible assets. Number one, internally generated goodwill. Goodwill can only be considered as an intangible asset when it is acquired in connection with a business combination. Other than that, goodwill is not to be recorded as an intangible asset. Number two, internally generated brands. Number three, mastheads and publishing titles. Number four, customer lists. So, ang exception is, pwedeng maging intangible tong mga to if they are purchased. So, kapag kunwari, meron kang inacquire na ibang company through a business combination and then meron silang mga internally generated brands, mastheads, customer list, pero you purchase that company, then yun, pwede siya maging intangible because you purchased them and hindi sila internally generated. So how do we recognize or when do we recognize intangible assets? According to PAS 38, medyo merong konting difference ang recognition criteria para sa intangible assets. So, the recognition of an item as an intangible asset requires an entity to demonstrate that the item meets two things. Number one, the definition of an intangible asset. So, dapat ma-meet niya muna yung identifiable, non-monetary, without physical substance. And number two, ma-meet niya rin yung recognition criteria. That is, we expect future economic benefits and costs are reliably measured. For measurement, initially, intangible assets are measured at cost, tulad lang din ng property, plant, and equipment. And this cost comprised of, number one, the purchase price and including import duties and non-refundable purchase taxes after deducting trade discounts and rebates. If payment is deferred, the cost of the asset is equal to the cash price equivalent. So, basically, this is very similar sa ating discussion sa property, plant, and equipment. Kasali din sa cost ng intangible any directly attributable cost of preparing the asset to its intended use. If you acquired the intangible assets as part of business combination, then you should measure all of those items at fair value at the acquisition date. When you acquire the intangible asset by way of government grant, you will measure it at fair value, or you can also choose to measure it at a nominal amount plus any expenditure that is directly attributable to preparing the asset for its intended use. This is in accordance with PAS 20. Now, for exchange of intangible assets, the same hierarchy we follow. Kapag merong commercial substance, ang pinakaunang priority sa measurement is the fair value of the asset given up. Kapag wala yun, then you will use the fair value of the asset received. And kapag walang fair value of any of the assets, then you use the carrying amount of the asset given up. But if the transaction lacks commercial substance, then the cost of the asset acquired is equal to the carrying amount of the asset given up. If it's internally generated, meaning you created the intangible within the company, meron tayong kinaklasify na dalawang phases. Yun yung research phase and development phase. If an entity cannot distinguish the research phase from the development phase of an internal project to create an intangible asset, the entity treats the expenditure on that project as if it were incurred in the research phase only. So if you cannot determine kung saang phase siya, we just assume na sa research phase siya. So why do we need to classify yung mga internally generated expenditures in relation with intangible assets into two phases, yung research tsaka development phase? Because depende kung anong phase yung asset na yon, ganun din yung accounting for it. So for research phase, it is always expense. So all expenditures that you incurred in relation with the research phase, you expense them. So, examples ng mga activities sa research phase are activities aimed at obtaining new knowledge, the search for, evaluation, and final selection of applications of research findings or other knowledge, the search for alternatives for materials, devices, products, processes, systems, or services, and the formulation, design, evaluation, and final selection of possible alternatives for new or improved materials, devices, products, processes, systems, or services. So, basta research, always expense. Kapag development phase naman, capitalize lang if mapait. Ano tong mapait? Ito yung 6 criteria na dapat ma-meet lahat para makapitalize yung mga expenditures that you incurred during development phase. So, dapat ma-meet mo all 6 yung mapait. So, ano ba tong mapait? M, the expenditure should be measured reliably. A, you have the ability to use or sell the asset. P, there is a probable future economic benefits. A, there is adequate technical or financial resources. I, you have the intention to complete the project. And T, there is technical feasibility. What if 5 lang out of the 6 yung meron? Then, the expenditure is expense. Again, ika-capitalize lang kapag na-meet niya lahat ng 6. So, these are examples of activities under the development phase. The design, construction, and testing of pre-production or pre-use prototypes and models. The design of tools, jigs, molds, and dies involving new technology. The design, construction, and operation of a pilot plant that is not of a scale economically feasible for commercial production, and the design, construction, and testing of a chosen alternative for new or improved materials, devices, products, processes, systems, or services. So let's have an example. Atlas Company has made expenditures for the following. Internally generated brand, 40,000. Self-created masthead and publishing title, 20,000. Internally created customer list and order backlog, 12,000. Purchased goodwill from a business combination, 160,000. Expenditure incurred to improve the acquired goodwill, 60,000. Internally generated goodwill, 80,000. Purchased brands, mastheads, publishing titles, customer list, and other order and production backlogs, 400,000. Expenditures incurred to improve purchased brands, mastheads, publishing titles, customer list, and order and production backlogs, 120,000. The question is, how much of these items should be recorded as intangible asset? The answer is the purchased brands, mastheads, publishing titles, customer list, and order and production backlogs of 400,000. All the other items do not qualify as intangible assets to be accounted for under PAS 38 because they are either internally generated or they are subsequent expenditures that are not considered as identifiable intangible assets. So let's proceed to subsequent measurement, guys. So just like property, plant, and equipment, intangible assets are measured subsequently using the two models. We have the cost model and the revaluation model. So under the cost model, it is measured at cost less accumulated amortization, less accumulated impairment losses. So technically, same lang siya sa PPE. It's just that instead of nade-depreciate yung intangible, siya ay naa-amortize. Under the revaluation model, it is to be measured subsequently at fair value, less accumulated amortization, less accumulated impairment losses. So we will not dwell on revaluation because technically, kung ano yung diniscuss natin sa property, plant, and equipment, the same lang siya when we talk about intangible assets revaluation model. All the concepts are the same. So we will focus more on amortization and impairment of intangible assets. So the first is we will talk about amortization or pag sa PPE pa to, ito yung depreciation. So for amortization, we will divide the intangible assets into two types. Meron tayong mga assets with finite life and meron tayong assets with indefinite life. So ano ba yung finite life? Finite life meaning there is a limited period of benefit to the entity. Ibig sabihin, there is a useful life of the asset. Meron siyang end, no? So if that is the case, then you need to amortize the asset over its useful life or the legal life, whichever is shorter. Don't forget about this. For intangible assets, the rule is always useful life or legal life, whichever is shorter. So for reference of legal lives, this is the legal life of some intangibles. Patent, 20 years. Trademark, 10 years. Copyright, 50 years. Franchise, 20 years. Para naman sa mga indefinite life, ano bang ibig sabihin kapag indefinite life? There is no foreseeable limit to the period over which the asset is expected to generate net cash inflows for the entity. Sa atin pa yan, di ba, parang my forever. So forever siyang nandyan. Wala siyang limit, wala siyang end, no? If that is the case, you cannot amortize them kasi wala nga silang life. So they are not amortized but they are tested for impairment. So for the method, just like sa PPE, it should reflect the pattern of benefits. But if it cannot be determined reliably, then use the straight line method. And for the residual value, it is presumed to be zero unless a third party is committed to buy the asset at the end of useful life. Kapag walang sinabi that the third party is committed to buy the asset at the end of useful life, then it is presumed to be zero. This amortization is recognized in profit or loss just like depreciation unless another PFRS requires that it be included in the cost of another asset. And the amortization period and the method should be reviewed at least annually. If may changes, then it shall be accounted for as changes in accounting estimates or prospectively. So, let's have an example. On January 1, 2019, ABC Incorporated purchased a patent from an original patentee for $2,400,000. The remaining legal life of the patent is 15 years, but the useful life is only 12 years. So doon pa lang, ang gagamitin nyo ay 12 years because it is yung shorter. On January 1, 2020, the entity paid 550,000 pesos in successfully defending the patent in an infringement suit filed against the entity. On January 1, 2021, the entity acquired a competing patent for 1,500,000 pesos. The competing patent has a remaining legal life of 15 years, but it is not to be used because it was intended to protect the original patent. So, we will try to solve for the carrying amount of this intangible asset, yung patent, every year. So, on December 31, 2019, yung first year niya, the initial cost of the trademark is 2,400,000. And then yung shorter sa legal life at useful life is 12 years, meaning the amortization for the year is 200,000. That is, the cost is 24 and the amortization is 200,000, meaning the carrying amount at the end of the year on December 31, 2019 is 2,200,000. So, the following year, 2020, merong expenditures to defend the patent sa isang lawsuit. So, on December 31, 2020, there is no change in estimate. Why? Because legal fees and other costs of successfully defending or prosecuting a patent should be charged outright as an expense. Hindi sila kinakapitalize. So meaning, continue lang yung amortization natin. So the cost is still 2,400,000. The accumulated amortization, since now it's the second year, 400,000 na yung accumulated. And the carrying amount at December 31, 2020 is 2 million pesos. On December 31, 2021, if a competing patent is acquired to protect an original patent, it is capitalized. So, pag bumili tayo ng competing patent, capitalized yan. The cost of the new patent and the carrying amount of the original patent is amortized over the remaining life of the original patent. So, dahil ang purpose ng competing patent is to protect the original patent, then yung gagamiting life is yung remaining life ng original patent. So, to do that, the carrying amount at January 1, 2021, bago nagsimula yung third year, ay 2 million pesos. Tapos, yung pag-purchase ng competing patent, gumastos ka ng 1,500,000. So, ang total cost as of now is 3,500,000, which is to be amortized over the remaining life. Nung pinakauna, ginamit natin 12 years. Since nag-lapse na yung 2 years, ang gagamitin na lang natin ay 10 years, the remaining life. Therefore, the amortization for 2021 is 350,000. That also means that the carrying amount, the total cost is 2,400,000, yung initial cost, plus 1.5 yung competing patent, 3,900,000. The accumulated amortization is as follows: 2019, 200,000, 2020, 200,000, and 2021, 350,000 for a total of 750,000. Therefore, the carrying amount on December 31, 2021 is 3,150,000 pesos. Okay? So, that's it for subsequent measurement for amortization. Now, let's go to impairment. So, the general rule for impairment is the provisions in recognizing impairment loss and reversals of impairment as set forth in past 36 shall also apply to intangibles. So, kung paano natin siya in-explain nung diniscuss natin siya sa property, plant, and equipment, same lang yung mga rules dito. There is impairment kapag yung carrying amount of the asset is already higher or it exceeds the recoverable amount. What is the recoverable amount? It is the higher between the fair value less cost to sell and the asset's value in use. Kapag indefinite life yung asset, kasi wala siyang life, no, forever yung life niya and for no foreseeable limit, the recoverable amount of an intangible asset with an indefinite life is usually equal to its value in use because wala siyang market value. If that is the case, because the term is indefinite, the value in use, kasi diba yung value in use normally present value. So dahil only yung life, then the formula is used yung perpetuity present value. Paano yung formula, sir, ng perpetuity present value? That is equal to the expected annual cash flows, just divide it by the discount rate. That is how you do the perpetuity present value. So let's have an example for impairment. On January 1, 2019, ABC Incorporated acquired the following intangible assets at trademark for 3 million pesos. The trademark has 8 years remaining in its legal life. It is anticipated that the trademark will be renewed in the future indefinitely without problem. Kapag ganyan na yung nabasa nyo, ibig sabihin, ma-renew lang siya ng ma-renew, that means considered na indefinite life. A patent for 6 million pesos. Because of market condition, it is expected that the patent will have economic life for just 5 years. Although the remaining legal life is 10 years. So, ang gagamitin natin ay 5 years kasi yun yung shorter. On December 31, 2019, the intangible assets are assessed for impairment. Because of a decline in the economy, the trademark is expected to generate cash flows of just 120,000 per year. The useful life of the trademark still extends beyond the foreseeable horizon. Indefinite nga daw. The cash flows expected to be generated by the patent are 1 million annually for each of the next 4 years. The appropriate discount rate for all intangible assets is 6%. The present value of an ordinary annuity of 1 at 6% for 4 periods is 3.46, and the fair value less cost to sell of the patent is 3,200,000. So let's first start with trademark. Since it is indefinite life, hindi siya i-amortize but iti-test for impairment. Therefore, the carrying amount is 3 million pesos, yung binili mo siya. Then the recoverable amount is just the 120,000 daw yung annual cash flows, just divided by the discount rate of 6% kasi perpetuity. So ang recoverable amount is 2 million pesos. That means the impairment loss is 1 million. Again, walang amortization because indefinite yung life niya. For the patent, it is amortized at the same time tested for impairment. So first, let's compute for amortization. The initial cost of the patent is 6 million. The shorter life between useful and legal life is 5 years. Therefore, the amortization for the year is 1,200,000. That means, at the end of the year, December 31, the carrying amount is now 4,800,000. That is 6 million cost minus accumulated amortization of 1,200,000. The carrying amount is 4,800,000. The recoverable amount naman, let's compare. The fair value less cost to sell is 3,200,000, while the value in use is 1 million times the present value factor for annuity, 3.46. That's 3,460,000. So, ang recoverable amount sa dalawang yan ay yung higher amount. That means the recoverable amount is 3,460,000. So, ang carrying amount, 4,800,000. Ang recoverable amount, 3,460,000. That means, ang impairment loss ay 1,340,000 pesos. So, ang total impairment loss natin is 1 million for the trademark and 1,340,000 for the patent. Then, the total impairment loss for 2019 is 2,340,000 pesos. So, that's it for impairment. Our last topic is for retirements and disposal. When do we dispose or retire intangible assets? It shall be derecognized on disposal or when no future economic benefits are expected from its use or disposal. The gain or loss arising from the derecognition of an intangible asset shall be determined as the difference between the net disposal proceeds and the carrying amount of the assets. So that's it guys for intangible assets. I hope that may natutunan kayo. So now it's your time to test your knowledge. If you know the answer to this question, just comment your answer down below sa comment section. Gandhi Company purchased a patent on January 1, 2019 for 428,400. The patent was being amortized over its remaining legal life of 15 years, expiring on January 1, 2034. On January 1, 2022, Gandhi determined that the economic benefits of the patent would not last longer than 10 years from the date of acquisition. What amount should be reported in the balance sheet as patent net of accumulated amortization at December 31, 2025? A. 146,800. B. 195,840. C. 244,840. Or D. 302,400 pesos. So, again, if you know the answer, comment your answer sa video na to. So, thank you very much guys for reaching this point. Thank you for watching and listening to my video. Please like, comment, share this video para matutunan din nito ng iba nating mga students dyan sa ABM or sa BS Accountancy. Thank you very much guys sa lahat ng mga nag-subscribe na. Sa mga hindi pa nakaka-subscribe, I hope na mag-subscribe na rin kayo and hit the notification bell para updated kayo kung meron tayong bagong video. So, thank you very much guys. That's it for today. See you sa next video ko. Bye!